Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to another Coming to Terms with video. This one is on coming to terms with sleeping bags, bedrolls, and robes. Primarily has to do with sleep systems. Now, I'll just mention again that these coming to terms with videos are not designed for me to tell you that you're stupid or uninformed or wrong. Okay, it's to give you the proper terms to use that were in use during the period which we're discussing here, from 1890 to 1939, to help you with your classic camping gear collection and your classic camping living history impression when you go searching through period documents, or if you read a period document that says, I was using X. And you need to put into your head just what X was. Okay? Now, this is kind of in addition to a previous video, Coming to Terms with video, on coming to terms with backpacks, valises, and wallets, and bedrolls. I go into a little bit more detail on bedrolls there than I'm going to here. This is what the thumbnail looks like. I will link to it at the end of the video. Okay, so this is inspired by a Facebook post that was made in one of my Facebook groups, not any of the ones I'm running and not any of the classic camping Facebook groups. And the young man announced to the group that he had finally found his bedroll. And this is the picture that he posted. Okay, now, if you have been around the channel, particularly if you've gone through the History of Camping Gear playlist, you know that the proper term for what he is displaying there is a sleeping bag. Okay, it's a sleeping bag design from the 1930s. Okay, now, me, I don't care whether he calls that a bedroll or not. Happy with him. But if he was looking for a 1930s bedroll, or even the kind of bedroll that is in modern usage today, he's sitting on the horns of a dilemma with a bit of misapprehension. That could be uncomfortable, sitting on the horns of a dilemma. Gotta watch out for the dilemmas. Anyway, so his sleeping bag could be a bedroll because it is a bed and it's rolled. But that's not what a bedroll is. So we'll start with that. And again, I do recommend you go watch that other video. But the bedroll, as the term was used in the 1920s and 1930s, okay, has its origins in what was known at the time, the late 19th century, as the stockman's bed sheet. Got another video that discusses the stockman's bed sheets, one of the first ones I ever did. It's in the History of Camping Gear. It's before there were real sleeping bags. I'll link to that one at the end of the video. This is what the thumbnail looks like. And this is the thing that we think of when we watch a Western, a John Wayne movie, and he's got that roll behind it, behind the saddle, okay? And he's walking around, you know, on that horse, and that bedroll, that roll in the back of the saddle is about that big, and then when he gets to his camp, he's got, you know, all sorts of camping, and get coffee pots and frying pans and all sorts. And you wonder how in the cornbread hell did he get all that in his little roll and his saddlebags. We'll set that aside. That's a little pet peeve of mine. The stockman's bed sheet, okay, which became known as a bedroll, was actually a very large, bulky affair that contained a a very large piece of canvas that could be used as a shelter, some kind of insulated system to keep your body from in contact with the planet, plus your blankets. Okay, very big, very heavy, usually carried in the wagons on cattle drives. Okay, the stockman's bed sheet became known as the bed roll. Okay, because, well, it was a bed and it rolled up. So in the 1930s, there were a couple of different styles of bedroll. And again, go back to that first video where we discuss it. But that's what a bedroll is. Today, our understanding of a bedroll is a much smaller, more compact arrangement that carries your sleep and shelter system. Okay, and many people wear it as a horseshoe, or like an Australian swagman with a strap across the shoulder, usually in conjunction with a haversack, or it can be strapped to the back of a pack. But let me say this. In the 1930s, 1920s, late 19th and early 20th century, that kind of arrangement was known as a pack. So wait a minute. My pack's back here. Today, that is where your pack is. And you call it a pack because that's short for backpack. Okay? But the word backpack didn't exist until 1910, when the first backpack was made by Ole Bergen. Okay? And they called it a backpack to give people of the time the idea of what it did. It's the pack which carries your sleep and shelter system, but you can put it on your back. That was a revolutionary concept at the time, by the way. Okay, so here we've got a system where our great-grandfathers, or my grandfather, understood the pack to be what we understand the bedroll to be today. You see how you can get confused in your research, where if you're looking for a bedroll and you end up with a sleeping bag? Okay? So that's bedrolls. Okay? A bedroll is a thing that carries your sleep system that can be used in a field expedient situation as a shelter system. Okay? A pack carries both your sleep and your shelter system. Okay. Now, I also mentioned robes. Okay. Robes were another sleep system from the 1920s and the 1930s. Okay, and the late 19th century. I've mentioned this before in other videos, but not in a specific context like this. A robe is a very large, very warm, actually piece of clothing, okay, that you can cover your entire body while seated, or while standing, or while sleeping. Okay? Where we encountered this the most in the 1920s and the 1930s is in the Arctic and polar sleeping robes sold by the Woods Corporation and Grant, Holden, and Grant in Canada. Okay? That is a sleeping robe. Today, people would call that a sleeping bag. But it's not. It's a robe because it can be used in a manner other than a sleeping bag can, and it will be covering your entire body. You can still be warm sitting down, standing up, or sleeping. Okay. What is a sleeping bag? Today we understand what a sleeping bag is, but maybe not in the same context as they did in the 1920s and 1930s. A sleeping bag in that context was a sleep system without any kind of shelter, okay, that could not stand alone by itself, and this is more applicable to the first 20-25 years of the 20th century, that will not stand by itself as a shelter system. Okay, it will keep you warm, but if it rains, you're going to get wet. Okay, now by the 1930s, they started changing this form and function to include minimal shelter. So in that context, it does kind of resemble what the bedroll was understood as. Okay, but a sleeping bag is generally understood to be fastened, to be sewn on one or more sides. The early sleeping bags were sewn about halfway down one edge, all the way across the bottom, and it was either folded or sewn down the length of the other side of the bag, usually rectangular. Okay, that was a sleeping bag. It's a bag that you sleep in. Okay, that started to change a little bit. Sleeping bags in the 1930s started to resemble kind of a fusion of the robe and bedroll. Okay, the thinking was, okay, these ding-dang things are so freaking heavy that you're not going to buy one if you've got a tent. Okay, or you're not going to buy a tent if you get this. In other words, you really can't. So they started to make them so that it was minimal shelter. The first company that did that was the Kenwood Company, starting in about 1895. Okay, maybe a little bit after the gold rush. Thank you, Mr. Young. So there you go. Those are the three basic sleep systems, and kind of a mishmash of how those terms all changed to where what we know as a bedroll today was known as a pack by your great-grandfather. Okay, and a sleeping bag is not a robe, and a robe is not a sleeping bag, but they both do the same thing. But a sleeping bag won't keep you warm if you're sitting down in it, unless you zip it up, in which case you can't do anything else. With the robe, you can put it around you and you can sit there and you can eat supper. Try that in a sleeping bag sometime. Okay, I hope I have lessened the confusion, but I may have made things a bit more confusing. Let me know in the comments. We'll see you down the trail.